Happen. Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County.
Shoot. Whoops.
Welcome to Detroit in Black and White. Our Wednesday edition is, I guess, it's just me and you today. Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit.
Good evening. Good evening. Adolph, back like the old days, back at the Eagle American.
The Eagle American.
Adolph was the editor in senior year. He was the editor of our high school paper. I was the sports editor.
Yeah.
So here we are.
And to Mr. Robert Jackson. He was a hell of a journalism teacher.
I got to tell you, I mean, I took journalism classes in college, and I've been in journalism all my life, and he really provided the foundation really for me for learning about journalism, and I'm sure for you as well. I mean, we learned really the fundamentals of journalism, and we built on that, in our professional lives. But he did an amazing job.
He told me one story I'll never forget, that when he was a teacher in Dearborn, September 1963, he had a current events class. He said every day they used to get up, a student read important story of the day, and that's how it went. He said the Monday after the Birmingham bombing in 1963, with 4 little black girls in Sunday school was killed. A Klan had blew up the church. I went by that church, but they didn't talk about the 12-year-old young black boy who was walking to church, and he got shot and killed at the same time. But anyway, said after the student read the story, half of the class got up and applauded. He said he almost threw up.
Wow.
He said he knew then he had to leave. He had to leave that Dearborn. He said you wouldn't believe it, that they would applaud the death of some young kids.
Wow.
But that was the times, and Dearborn was under the thumb of Orville Hubbard. Who said, let's keep Dearborn clean. In other words, he wanted to keep it white. And I find it ironic where they worked so hard to keep black residents out that when they woke up one day and the city was majority Arab.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, also, the city has an interesting history there with Henry Ford and Bill McGraw, who had worked at the Free Press for a long time and was my partner in Deadline Detroit in the beginning. He was the editor eventually of the Dearborn magazine, and he called me and told me, he said, look, I'm working on a story. They might not let me publish it. If they don't, I'm going to publish it in Deadline Detroit. And the story was about Henry Ford and his anti-Semitism, that he had a Dearborn paper that was very anti-Semitic, and that him and Father Coughlin were buddies and all that. And the city of Dearborn freaked out over the idea of running something about Henry Ford being, anti-Semitic. I mean, Henry Ford was friends with Hitler. And so he ran it in Deadline Detroit, and it was a big controversy. The New York Times picked up on it, that the city of Dearborn wouldn't run it in the magazine. I think they eventually did, but
well, Dearborn, I'm gonna tell you, one also in the 60s, I think it was the 60s. There was a riot outside of a house. People were moving in, and folks in the neighborhood saw 2 black men moving furniture in the house, and they assumed that they were moving into the house. They were movers. They riot. The police just stood there. They threw shit. Man, it was unbelievable. You know, that's the way it was. And Mr. 1213 said, wasn't there other people in that church who was also injured in 1963? Yeah. And it was, but mainly it was kids. It was Sunday school. You know, went early.
Right.
Cowards. And the story goes, George Wallace, after he was paralyzed from attempted assassination, said, told a reporter in an interview that when he went home that Sunday, he was out. And when he was the governor at the time, said that his wife, Lurleen Wallace, who later became governor, she blamed him for the murders. She said, how could you? He said, I didn't do it. She said, the stuff that you say and do created that atmosphere. You know, where the cowards blew up a church with kids in it.
Yeah, you know, when leaders speak, people listen. I mean, they have followings. I mean, we see with, you know, Donald Trump. I mean, he has a super following. I mean, it's almost cult-like following. But we saw at the Capitol when he was basically egging people on, and then he was talking about his vice president, you know, and it wasn't until he came out, like they were begging him to come out and tell people to go home. Finally, after 2.5 hours, he said, all right, you know, you're all beautiful people. It's time to go home. And they went home, you know?
Yeah, but you know, you can go back in history, and I'll give something. When the murderers of Emmett Till was on trial, the two senators out of Mississippi, John Stennis was one of them, a Democrat. They went and brought Emmett Till's father Army record into play. Did you know that Emmett Till's father was hung in Italy during World War II for being going out with white women, or he was accused of raping them, and they said it wasn't rape. You know, they went out with him because they liked him. But he went on trial, and they said like father, like son, etc. And when the jury came back in 10 minutes, 5-10 minutes, the governor of Mississippi, he congratulated the two men that was let off, brother-in-laws. Next year, they did an interview. They got paid $5,000 each by Look magazine, where they admitted that they killed Emmett Till, but they wouldn't tell. They wouldn't tell who else was there. It's just unbelievable. Or we go back to the early 1900s. Leo Frank, remember that story?
No.
Leo Frank was a Jewish factory owner. In Georgia, Atlanta, who was lynched. Suppose they had raped and killed this white girl, and man, it was a play. They threatened this black janitor who they made him say it was Leo Frank that did the killing, and they took him out of the jail, man. And, you know, police, whatever, just. You have to read that story, man.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. I mean, it's interesting. This country has, you know, it's so important to learn about the history of this country. And look, there's great things, and even, I mean, even when you go to Henry Ford, I mean, what a great industrialist. Look at all the great things he did, and yet the guy was, you know, he was just a flaming anti-Semite.
Where the government had to take control of Ford during the beginning of World War II because he wasn't going to do shit. And they had to bring his grandson, because the son had died, Henry Ford II. They discharged him from the Navy to take over the factories, man. You know, because
Yeah.
the old man was him, Charles Lindbergh,
Right.
another Detroit boy who loved the Nazis.
Hmm.
Well, you know, you see it today how some of these folks are. You think they some hero, but they're not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we see the history, and I mean, it's interesting the whole thing with the statues, particularly down south. I mean, you know, I was in North Carolina when I was at the Washington Post. I got a month fellowship at Duke University, and went. It's right. Durham is near Raleigh, and you go to Raleigh City Hall, and there's the first Confederate soldier I think killed in the Civil War, at least in North Carolina, and we don't understand that where the Confederacy is still celebrated in parts of the South. Us from the North, like, what the hell?
But
They were
these are the people that celebrated what didn't fight it, because most of these statues came 30 and 40 years after the Civil War,
right.
and most of those folks were either dead or too old to care, And these people romanticizing how great it was to fight in that war. And if you look back at 600, 700,000 casualties, man, that was a lot of people. That was, if they summed it up, that was more people than all the wars in Europe they put at a time frame, saying, damn, that's a lot of people that died later because of infection and all this other shit.
Yeah.
We need to probably read some folks.
Okay. You want to read some? Let's get some comments here. Whoops.
What do Vanessa say? You know what I'm gonna do?
I mean, share. What is it? Share, subscribe,
Yeah.
whatever.
Like, share, subscribe. That's what you need to do.
Yes.
Okay.
So we've got Karen Winston says, God and blessed evening, good people. Mr. 1213, good evening, gents. Dominique Richmond, 4074, good evening, all. Janet Overall, good evening. Janet Overall has shared. Mr. 1213, Adolph wasn't there. Wasn't there other people in that church who were also injured in that church in 1973? Tamarick Kemet, good evening, Dib and W. Edward Alt 5085, good evening, Detroit. Janet Overall, I was just talking to a family member about the history of Dearborn. Stephanie Jackson, 8347, good evening. Tracy Loftus Alam, good evening. Edward Alt 5085, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. Amen. Tamarick Kemet, Iran has taken out 2.7 billion high-value U.S. radar systems, and 5,000 U.S. soldiers are headed to a hot war Donald Trump started. Do we want
to? These people think that we can just take a country, send in the troops. Have they learned anything? Or we're going to take Cuba next. Lindsey Graham getting up there. Did they ever learn anything out of Vietnam? We bombed the hell out of Vietnam and then win a war. Because when you put troops on the ground, that's a whole different story.
Mm-hmm. Well, we see in Libya, we displaced, finally Gaddafi. They took him down. And what do you have there? You have little tribes everywhere in that country. It's a mess. We've seen anytime. I mean, look, we oversaw in 2005. I have a friend in D.C. He was a lawyer. He went to oversee the elections in Gaza, and they elected Hamas. And then the U.S. was like, well, we want democracy, but not that kind of democracy. We see, Russia invaded Ukraine. Is it maybe, I don't know, 4 years already? And they thought it would be the first week they'd come in, and then Ukraine would roll over. And
But we was giving them weapons to Bin Laden and them. We created Bin Laden. He was our ally. You look at Somalia, and that half the country is run by pirates, and the other half is nothing, no government or whatever, because we went in and we made movies. What is the Hurt Locker about our soldiers getting killed in Somalia? And, man. But here we are, and we got the same kind of politicians, some of them that want to go back to the days of yesteryear, make America great. For many people in America at that time, it wasn't great. It was a time when my mother was alive, and and she was reading the history of Hudson's in the newspaper, and she said Hudson's used to would deliver merchandise to you, except black folks. You couldn't try on shoes at Hudson's if you were black.
Really?
You couldn't try on clothes if you were black.
Right.
You couldn't even get a job as an elevator operator. Yeah. She said the history of Hudson, it was not a great history. And I remember somebody asked me, did I know anybody that they wanted to interview for a story about Hudson? And I tried to get my mother. She was like, nah, nope, leave it be. But, it's everybody don't have those memories. When people was going downtown, Hudson's, a soda fountain and a cafe and all this shit. Remember, there was times when certain people, African Americans, could not even go into some of these places. And the only reason when the sit-ins and Kresge, it was Woodworth.
Right. So Kresge.
Yeah, Woodworth. And when they were sitting in these Woodworth stores, restaurants down south and getting beat up, the headquarters was in Seattle, Washington. And after a while, they couldn't take it, and they threatened to close all of them in the South. That's the only way they broke it. It broke segregation, because the owners of the store saying, we're going to just fucking shut it down.
Yeah, crazy. Let's take a commercial, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Okay, we're back. Yeah.
So here's a comment. It says the war has consequences locally, with the Lebanese man running his car into an Israeli house of worship because Israel killed his family in Lebanon. Detroit has the largest concentration of Arabs. Yeah, I mean,
but that's again, that's something.
I mean, we talked about this in the very beginning, and Vanessa was like, well, it's thousands of miles away, and we got issues here. And I said back then, or in the first days of the war, I said, you're going to feel the war here. I said, you're going to see gasoline prices go up. You're going to see soldiers getting killed, American soldiers, and at some point possibly out of Michigan. We're seeing the stock market impacted. We're seeing, and that's for people's 401ks and their IRAs and all that stuff. I mean, it does hit home whether we like it or not. And people should have opinions about it, but you know.
Yeah, well, we had somebody from the Trump administration said enough of this bullshit with the war. It's bullshit.
Well,
And
yeah, yeah. I mean, the guy who's involved in intelligence and counterintelligence and all that kind of stuff was basically saying there was never any imminent threat. I think we knew that. I mean, it's just one lie after another. They said, well, we thought Israel was going to go in when we couldn't stop them. They were going to go in without us. And after that, they were going to retaliate Iran and start bombing our bases in the Middle East. Well, first of all, if anyone knows the dynamics there, it's if Trump tells Netanyahu in Israel, do not go in, we don't want you going in, we don't want you creating a mess, Netanyahu is not going in. It's, and so that's just fabricated. It's just, they've tried one day after another to try to pick up excuses about why we went in there. And I think people would have been okay if they'd gone in for 3-4 days, bombed some installations, come back out. But now we've got, the Kurds, who are a Muslim group in the Middle East. They want to go in, invade. They're asking the U.S. to, have cover. Meanwhile, the Straits of Hormuz, which 20% of our oil goes through, the world oil goes through there. Iran is bombing it. All the tankers are afraid to go through there. And so we're seeing, just in the last day, gasoline's gone up 12 cents. It's gone up,
but you know what's going to happen. If you read your history, when Egypt got pissed off at everybody in 58 or 56, 58, they closed down the Suez Canal.
No, right.
What happened? France, England, U.S., Israel, they all invaded. They said, fuck that. You can't close it. So we on the verge of drawing in other countries. Now, I can't believe that the people that live in Israel, and you've been there, you have relatives that live there, like Netanyahu, we only had 10 people killed. That goddamn 10, 1, 2, whatever. If they're going to keep accepting that, man, if they're ever going to be a ceasefire, or is it that you live under these conditions? You've been there several times.
Yeah.
What do people? Are they afraid?
Interesting. I mean, not everybody's in favor, but there are people who say in Israel, we are tired of Iran supplying Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas, and we're willing to put up with it. I mean, they're running in and out of shelters every day. They get the sirens and they run into the shelters, the bomb shelters. But they don't trust Netanyahu's the same as, he's a crook like Trump. And so they don't trust that he's not doing some of these things to divert his trial, his for fraud or embezzlement or whatever, bribery. And so what we see is, I mean, Trump that was another thing. He said, okay, Iranian people, we're bombing the shit out of them. Take your government back now. Well, the Revolutionary Guard, which controls the army, they've got all the weapons. There are no militias running around like Syria. Syria had different militias running around everywhere. There's no militias there. The people don't have the power to take over. The government is going to stay intact.
Well,
they kill layer after layer, but this government, they got a deep bench.
Well, when you see Syria, it was one country under dictatorship. Now who knows? Look at Libya, as you mentioned. Look at Iraq. All these countries. Hussein, at least he was a buffer. Saddam Hussein was a buffer between Iran and everybody else because they didn't like each other. They're different sects.
For years.
Yeah, there's no question. So now we go over there in the name of democracy, and all of it is just fucked up. Lebanon been fucked up since the 70s. It used to be called Beirut used to be called the Paris of the Middle East.
Right.
And I don't think they had a stable government since 1975 when the Civil War broke out.
Well, they've got, I mean, Lebanon's a mess. They've got Beirut. I've never been there, but it's supposed to be a beautiful, beautiful town. And that what's happening there is they have a government that's, run by Christians and Muslim. And you have Hezbollah, which has become more and more legitimate. So they have some political power. But, Hezbollah has been really the proxy for Iran. And finally, the Lebanese government has told Hezbollah, we don't need you to be fighting anymore because Israel is just coming in and bombing us. What are you fighting for?
Ain't no question. I know people saying, where's the PLO? At least we could negotiate with the PLO. They played the little games and shit, but
It's interesting. And, Hezbollah has been fighting, for the Palestinians, they say. But at the same time, there are 250,000 to 300,000 Palestinians who were displaced in 1948, who are in I think mostly southern Lebanon. They aren't allowed to vote. They aren't allowed to own property. They're still. We're talking generations already, and
they shouldn't have left. It was a time when they brokered the deal. Ralph Bunch, another Detroiter, brokered the deal where Israel was recognized as a country, and they said, "Here's Palestine."
Yeah.
Okay, we got Israel and Palestine, and the Arab countries geeked up the Palestinians and say, "Oh no, we're gonna go and we're gonna fight and we're gonna take back all the shit." And here you are, every so often, the Palestinians lose. What, 67 war, 73, 73.
Right.
Yes. So, man, enough is enough.
And people don't. I think people don't realize is that before 67, Gaza was controlled by Egypt. Israel did not control Gaza. And then the West Bank was controlled by Jordan. And then after the 67 war, Israel took over. The problem has been Israel also took over the Golan Heights from Syria. And probably about 10 years ago, Israel said, yes, we want to have diplomatic relations with you. And because Syria kept saying, give us back the Golan Heights. And so Israel said, we'll give you back the Golan Heights, but we asked for we want to have diplomatic relations. We want to put an embassy, we want to have trade with you. And they said, just give it back and then we'll talk.
Oh, well.
So.
Well, anyway, close to home, I was reading an article in one of the papers, news, that, hey, the Co-America, the government found a big loot, all this cash on Kwame Kilpatrick, and come to read the article, $13,000. He owed $1 million almost.
800.
Like, why is this a story?
Well, it's interesting. The original headline, which right before it went on the air, the original headline said something like it was like Kwame Kilpatrick money hunt leads to fat stash or something. When I read that, I thought, oh my God, what did they find? Like hundreds of thousands of dollars. And then you see it's 13,000. So I see that right before we went on, shortly before we went on, minutes before, they changed the headline to Kwame Kilpatrick money hunt leads feds to cash stash at Comerica. And again, it sort of suggests we're talking about, $13,000, which is, it's not nothing, but it's not a stash. It's not a fat stash.
Why is it that you're a journalist? Why is it the fixation of Kwame Kilpatrick won't go away, man?
Well, I think with any, he's part of the Detroit history, right? I think it would be the same with if the previous mayors, if Archer or Bing or something were involved in something more, exciting or scandalous or whatever. I think people, look, it's gossipy, really. I mean, at this point, I mean, he's made a deal with the government.
Is he ever going to pay? And 30 years from now, they'll be saying, oh, the government found 50 grand and they taking it from Kwame's sons and shit. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
What's going to happen if he decide he was going to run for Congress? Because he can run for Congress now.
He can run for Congress.
Yeah. Well, I guess they would love it. They would love it. They would love it. So no, 13 grand. That's not a real story. That's not a real story.
Yeah, he's got a following, and he could, if he ran in the 13th congressional district, he could beat Sri Thanadar.
And no question. I wonder, ask our viewers out there, if Kwame ran for office, would you vote for him? I'm just wondering, if he ran for Congress, and he can run for Congress, would you vote for him?
Right.
And what kind of job you think he would do?
Right. I'll put this up for briefly. The little whatever it's called. If anyone wants to come on the show and join us, we'll leave it up for a few minutes and see if anyone cares to join us. But I think he still has a following. I mean, I think it's mixed. I think there's people in the city who don't like him, and I think he's still beloved. And
I don't dislike him. And I work closely with him.
Mm-hmm.
Smart, smart, Kwame. Who? No, okay. Here we got folks coming in. Kwame. Who? No,
Yeah, I talk to Kwame on occasion. I mean, he's a very personable guy. I don't know him like you knew him. You knew him before he ended up getting convicted and all this stuff. I covered the trial. I would see him and his father, and we'd like nod heads, but I didn't really know him till after he got out. And then I interviewed him a couple times, and
well, he thought he could talk his way out of shit, because he was good at that. But
he's charming. He's a charming guy. I mean,
saying that he can beat Sri Thanadar, that ain't saying much. But the people that's running against him now don't seem like they can beat him.
Right.
The guy spends all his money. They don't run these campaigns. From what I hear over in the 12th district, my favorite Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib, is going to have a opponent, the mayor of Inkster.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And wasn't I'm trying to remember, there was what's his name? One of the candidates who was one of the mayoral candidates was talking about running. What's his name? He was a councilman in the 6th. I think it was the 6th district.
Not Fred Durhal, is it?
Yeah, Fred Durhal. Wasn't he talking about running in the 12th?
But you got to have the take on somebody like Rashida. You got to have a boatload of money,
mm-hmm.
and you got to have a message,
right? Because
she the only person that unbeat her
mm-hmm.
was Virgil Smith when she ran for state senate, and he beat her because she was out of her element.
Mm-hmm.
That means that she was in another whole district,
right?
And he had to really campaign before he had some issues.
Here we have somebody who says Kwame is a smart politician, but I don't want him representing me.
Somebody said, "There you go, Blue. One day I'll tell you the real about Kwame." Huh?
We got him on backstage. We're going to bring on Day here.
What's up, Adolph?
Hey, what's happening, man?
What's going on, Allan?
Much. What's happening? What's on your mind?
Not much. I just tuned in. Just came in for taking a walk with my puppy. Heard y'all talking about Kwame and a little bit dealing with Palestine, because y'all already know. You see the background. That's what I do all day long. Geopolitical news, Fox 2 News.
Right.
You know.
Fox. Is that what you watch, Fox?
I watch Fox. I watch all news.
Okay.
Right. I get it from the Defense Department. All the news. That's how you get the real news. You know what I'm saying? You got to be on. You know that better than me, Allan.
Yeah. No, that's good. I worry if you just got it from Fox, but if you're switching all over,
No, you gotta get it. You gotta get the geopolitical news from all angles, because it's different. It's different economics. You know, it's different economists. So you gotta get different views and perspectives.
Okay, let's get down to what the question we had, Day. Would you vote for Kwame if he ran for Congress?
For Congress?
Yeah, that's the only seat that he Senate and Congress. Those are the only two seats he could run for.
No.
Now, how come? Why
I can't say live why. It's just about what when I tell you all in person why, y'all understand, but it has nothing to do. It's something personal, but I can't get to the specifics because a lot of individuals be involved, and I don't do that.
Well, I wish you had something, Day.
I mean, I do got some, Adolph, but 50, because I'm gonna tell you right now, 50 Cent want to do my story. You know, so I just don't say I have my mental.
We're gonna have to talk in person, Day. Okay, and thanks for coming on.
All right,
we'll see you real soon.
10-4. Salute.
Yeah, man. All right, have a good evening. Thanks for coming. All right. So so we had a couple other things we were going to talk about. The guy, his name is Sean Wilmoth, got 4 to 20 years today in Macomb County. He was a guy who was collecting signatures for petitions for a number of gubernatorial candidates, including Perry Johnson, some judicial candidates.
Wasn't he working for James Craig too?
That's what I thought. I didn't see his name in the
Well, you know what? And James Craig could have got signatures out of Detroit, and he would have been fine. But he didn't. And they sit and listen to these so-called consultants, and I remember when collecting signatures was a quarter a signature.
Right.
Told you how long ago. Then it went up to 50 cents. Then it went to $1, $2, $5, $7 a signature. You go to California, which puts a lot of things on the ballot. They pay people $20 a signature. Right. So people make a lot of money, and these companies pop up and they take people around the country to work. It seemed that it used to be, the fraud used to be where when we had the phone books, somebody go on the phone book and, start writing people's names down and addresses. And you could tell, or you say, damn, everybody on that street signed a petition. Everybody, you go look up the name in the phone book and there it is. And you call 1 or 2 people that's on that list, and they said, no, I've never signed anybody petition. But it done got to be high tech now, but they still got ways to weed out these signatures, man.
Right.
Just one person, no matter how you try to make a signature different, you still got maybe the letter A or your last name always the same.
Well, this guy made this chart, according to the allegations, he collected $400,000 from all these altogether from all these candidates. And so the question, I mean, you've been in the political business for a long time. How do you make sure that you get a reputable person to help collect your signatures?
Well, they out there. I know people that's good at it. You know,
people,
yeah,
people
there's a way, and people check the signatures at the clerk's office or whatever,
right.
and people say, well, they'd have the wrong address. A lot of times, people move.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you start looking at the signatures, and that don't mean that the signature on the petition is no good. It's just they still in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
or they still in Oakland County and Wayne County, and the state has changed a lot of the barriers that used to stop people from getting signatures. You don't have to live in the city or the county to collect signatures other places, you know. And so, yeah. What about people who got caught up in San Francisco? Hopefully, it was a time when people got caught doing that. They got no time.
And Dave says he's heard of Promethean Group. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you know about them?
Well, you know, just they get signatures. I never tried to. I got out of the signature deal years ago. You know, the game people was playing 20, 30 years ago, and I got more sophisticated. When you pay somebody 50 cents a signature, and they come back with 2,000 signatures, and now I want $1 a signature. And I had that happen to me, and I'm not paying. But the candidate was like, "Fuck it, I'll pay it because I don't need the headache." You know, yeah. So yeah, that's
how tough is it? Did you ever actually go around with the petitions? Or?
Yeah, I used to get. It's tough, especially in the wintertime. It's tough in the summertime. People don't want to sign a petition. You can see them out downtown at times, and they say, "Are you a resident voter?" Or something they trying to get something on the ballot. That don't mean that they support that person or support that issue. People just trying to get paid. Remember that. You know, they'll go get signatures for Lucifer if he was paying them. You know, not that they support Lucifer, but hey, you know, it's a job. Some people are good at it, and some people not. The ones that's not, they cheat.
Right.
They make up fake shit. Right. You know, so yeah, you have to be real careful when you go out and get signatures. Some offices, like the county exec office, you don't pay $100. State rep, $100. The state senate, $100. You can get signatures if you want to, but you can pay $100. But now Congress, no, because if you pay $100, you have about 50 people on the ballot. So Congress, you got to get 2,000 to 4,000 signatures. Same way with the Senate. The governor, you need to get 15,000 signatures or more. But you know, you got to really get more signatures, because people go through your stuff and they throw out a lot of signatures. Try to get you off the ballot. So yeah, Perry Johnson he a billionaire, and he couldn't get on the ballot. That's unbelievable.
And
now, I'm sure he got the right kind of people.
James Craig got booted for the same reason.
Yeah.
I got a question. I'm curious. You know, James Craig, I thought in the very beginning of the mayoral race,
had some juice, right?
I thought he, had a shot, because there was no clear shot for anyone, and he seemed to be in the mix. And then it just seemed like he didn't. I don't know if he didn't want it, or he just didn't seem to really crank in there.
Well, it's speaking of the mayor race, the mayor, Mary Sheffield, said that she's going to build 1,000 houses. Is that where? Is it possible?
That's a lot of houses. I guess the question
That's a
is,
lot of fucking houses.
that's a lot of houses. I guess who knows? Yeah, you know how they're built. You know, you worry sometimes, if particularly if they're going to be affordable homes, if they're going to use good quality materials to build homes. It's going to be just a little cheap things put up. But you know, there's
you can bring 50 more thousand people into the city.
right.
You know, that is a lot of houses.
Yeah, it is a lot. I mean, but and it's not cheap building a house. I mean, if you look at Cass Community Social Services, which I was at a fundraiser last Friday for them, they built those tiny homes. They had 25 tiny homes. They were $100,000 a piece to build.
Yeah, that. You remember the dog houses before that? They were in Highland Park under Grand Home. I call them dog houses. They all empty now. I wouldn't put my dog in those houses. Yeah. You know, so some of that shit. We can read.
The tiny homes are not. I've been in.
Yeah, they are. They need to build. They need to build more of that.
Yeah.
Read some of the comments.
All right.
Larry Barnett, 23. The city hates Black Detroit, and it shows. Tamer, is that Kimmett? Tamika Kimmett. Okay, I think I got it right. Yeah. Lucifer, you mean Duggan? Okay. As a D-Dot rider, I have signed several proposals around the transit center downtown. That's the 8 Mile Transit Center. Yeah, I had people that used to ride on the bus. That's Edward Alt 5085. Yeah. People that used to get a ton of signatures, get on the bus and ride the buses. I'm telling you, people find the ways, or they go to the Secretary of State office and wait outside the Secretary of State. We need to do something about the state of Michigan being only one or two states for is that a FOIA rights now that the legislature and governor aren't reopening, reporting their spending. But they tell you when you want a FOIA, one of the papers or whatever, 100 grand or 50 grand.
No, I mean, well, you know, it's so weird. I think you can get expenses from these people, but anything else, if you're trying to get, I mean, normally if you as a reporter or anybody really wants to get the emails and communications over the Dan Gilbert project or this or that, you can do a Freedom of Information. But Michigan is only one of two states where the state legislature and the governor are exempt, and they both have excuses. Well, in 2018, Whitmer said, I will sign an executive order for there to be transparency in the governor's office. And then she said, well, I'm not going to do it until the state law.
Who paid for a trip to the Olympics? I know who paid for my trip when I went to Paris. Me.
Okay. They wouldn't
who
say
paid for her trip.
She wouldn't say who. Well, they have the Detroit or the Michigan Economic Development Commission paid for some of the trip, but to the actual Olympics, because the Olympics became an add-on to an excursion or whatever out to Italy and one of the other.
Like she usually do. When her father was alive, she was taking a trip somewhere and they stopped in Florida.
Yeah.
Eric Brown say refurbish the neighborhoods before talking about building a new house. People still talking about grandiose plans instead of fixing the current problem. You know, Eric, I agree with you on that. We got a lot of neighborhoods that need to be fixed up. If you're talking about replacement housing, I said great. You know, what was that organization Jimmy Carter used to work with? Habitat for.
Yeah, Habitat for Community.
They build a lot of houses. We need a lot of folks to come in and be a part of that. Now, I can imagine somebody told me, well, if she built 1,000 houses, it's gonna be called Sheffield Village or all this other shit. I'll be like,
Sheffield Village.
Yeah, and that's we just need homes and stuff. And I had a question from someone I ran to on the street saying these communities don't want these data centers. Detroit got lots of land. Why don't they come to Detroit? That's a good question.
Yeah, Detroit.
Well,
Detroit has so much.
We got the land, man.
We've gotten used to it. We drive around Detroit all the time and we see empty fields and empty blocks or 2 homes on a block, and we think that's normal, and that's normal for us. You go to Washington, D.C., you'll find maybe 2 or 3 boarded up stores. The rest of everything's occupied. You see, maybe it's been a while now, maybe 1 or 2 empty apartment buildings. They've been knocked down and they've built, middle income housing in some of those neighborhoods. And so we have so much, it's a blank slate. I don't know why we don't have University of Michigan, Wayne State University, Michigan State, the urban affairs. There should be classes where your project is the city of Detroit.
Well, I give Wayne State credit.
Yeah.
Because when you first went to Wayne and when I went to Wayne at grad school, Wayne was just a little area right off in Woodward, etc. But it has grown. Dorms and all the new buildings.
Anthony Wayne Drive, there's new.
Yeah, they have done a hell of a job, and man, UD could do that. Yeah. Let's take a quick break and come back and we'll wrap it up.
All right, let me get to.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Mr. 1213 said data centers use a lot of water, running up water rates. But it's going to be run up the water rates anyway if you don't have anything. I'm convinced that they're going to raise the water regardless because of the infrastructure. A lot of pipes in some of these communities are old, put in there in the 70s and stuff, and you see where they break and millions of dollars got to go in. I say if you're going to bring in 200, 300 people or whatever to work, I say you can go right there on the east side and build one where the old Chrysler diesel plant used to be. There's
everywhere, man. The city, man, Southwest, and go down Grand River.
Yes.
Go down Oakland. There's land everywhere. I mean, and there's just massive land.
And I wonder if our city officials is selling this. I'll give Dan Gilbert credit for going to people like Apple and stuff and say, come to Detroit. You got to ask these folks. And when I was watching Black Lives Matter march up and down Michigan Avenue to Woodward back and forth, I'm saying, what the fuck are they demanding? Now, this was a good time to go to the folks that own Kroger's. Kroger's own 7, 8 different grocery chains.
Right.
And they do not help. One time they was in Detroit, was off an 8 Mile Road in Gratiot. They moved out of there. But they'll build right around the city. You go to Dearborn, you got 3 or 4 Krogers. You go to other places, and here we are, the largest city in Michigan, and don't have that shit. Those are the type of things that you have to tell these folks. It's like Target. The boycott in the African American community unhurt Target. Target done lost millions of dollars since they decided that we getting rid of DEI and all this other shit. And that is, yeah. I just don't see anybody asking.
Well, I would say this, that Meyer, to their credit, and look, Meyer is they're I think a moderate Republican family,
but they got 2. They got 3 Meyers.
3 stores. Yeah. They've got 2 superstores, one in 8 in Woodward and one in 6 in Grand River, and then they've got the place on Jefferson, which I go to a fair amount.
Yes, and they have stepped up. They have stepped up.
Myers, when we were on strike at the Detroit News, we tried to get certain businesses to boycott the papers and not advertise. Hudson's didn't listen to us. Art Van Furniture they were advertising, but Meyer supported the workers, and they did not advertise. And they're
still around.
Yeah, I got a lot of respect for Meyer. I mean, like I say, they're I think they're moderate Republicans. What you would call it, the Meyer, I can't remember his first name now, but he was a congressman in Grand Rapids, a very moderate, reasonable guy. I think he was really what the future of the Republican Party should be. But Myers has always been, look, I called this is probably about 3, 4, 5 years ago, I called Trader Joe's. And I said, because Whole Foods is coming. Whole Foods does go into cities. Whole Foods is in the city. And I called up Trader Joe's and I said, why don't you guys open a store here in Detroit? I said, you guys would kill it. Peter Meyer, thank you. You guys will kill it here in Detroit, because I said, Whole Foods is doing great, but you guys have better prices and more unique products and stuff like that. And they're just like, it's just not in the cards,
Well, Coleman Young and Al Tubman got into it because Al Tubman said Coleman asked about malls being built in Detroit, and he said Detroit don't have the people. And Coleman told him, who the fuck you think keep Northland and Eastland in business?
Exactly.
Detroiters. Yeah. So, the game is, let's be slick. We can just build around Detroit and people will come. Used to have a Target right there on 8 Mile Road, Bel Air movie theater plaza.
Window there.
And they moved and they closed that. Why? Not because they wasn't getting business, because they wanted to beef up the other stores. Why did they close? Why did Dayton Hudson close the downtown Hudson store while they built up the one that was in Minneapolis where they were located? Because the Northland store was losing money, and the Eastland store was losing money, and they wanted to get people to go to those places, and it was just at the right time to close the main store. Hudson's only was dying anyway, and they sold Macy's. They sold, they've been
Macy's and all
that. And Target was a product of Macy's. You could use your Target card in Hudson or Hudson Target. Well, now Target is its own.
Whole Foods, I'll tell you, Whole Foods has been an anchor in different cities where they've gone and helped the neighborhoods and stuff like that. I mean, they've done. I go to Whole Foods sometimes. The parking lot's packed. The store is all. It's.
Well, I'm kind of disappointed in the Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Because they hot food used to be the best. It seems like it's not. I talked to George Jackson, who was head of Detroit Economic Corp at the time. At the time Whole Foods was building, and he had wanted them to build a bigger store with a bigger parking lot, and he said they told him, well, we don't think we're going to have all these customers to come in to support it. And yes, they more than support it.
Yeah, they kill it over there. I mean, if you go at lunchtime, man, the place is packed. You go after work, the place is packed. Saturday, the place is packed. They do, they do well. So.
Well, time flies when you're having fun, Allan.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, I just want to say good evening. That's Mr. Duckett, 4006. Good evening. Glad you can make it towards the end of the show. We need to claw back our money from Gilbert on the Hudson deal. He did breach the contract. Wasn't it supposed to be a bigger project?
Yeah, well, he kept cutting down on the floors.
The
problem is he started building before the pandemic, and then suddenly, office space is not. I mean, right before the pandemic, Deadline Detroit, we signed a lease at the Ford because we were worried. They said you go month to month or do a 1.5 year lease, and I said let me do a 1.5 year lease because everybody wanted office space. The law firms in Bloomfield Hills wanted a Detroit address, and people were moving down. And then suddenly,
nobody wants the office space anymore.
Yeah, now there's a lot of empty office space, and so I think people got caught up in that with the Hudson's building. But I say I travel a lot, and I have to admit, Detroit downtown is getting better and better than some of these other places. But they should have a grocery store downtown like other places have. And like I said, Kroger owns 7 or 8 different brands, and they can bring whatever they want to come to Detroit. They don't have to be a Kroger, but they own it. Got to have people say, come. Come. Plum Market.
We haven't done that yet.
We've had Plum Market. Do they still have the store open? I know.
But they got rid of the people. It's like they got rid of the fresh foods and stuff. The pandemic just hurt folks. And Plum Market they got 2 stores, I think, in Detroit.
Right. They're one in the Piston Training Center.
Yeah.
They're on 2nd.
And the one downtown is not a very good store.
Used to be great.
But the pandemic beat it all. But anyway, I just want to say thanks, everybody. We'll be back on Friday. Vanessa, Jim, Teresa. That's me and Allan today, like the old days, Allan.
All right.
9:10 a.m. Superstation. Fuck you, Kevin Adele.
Yeah. It was an interesting mix of people.
Yeah. There's no question. We'll see you on Friday.
All right.